God, I love the Larson line.
Lesson from the brain, seeing the beauty through the.
What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be recapping Chip Ganassi, both Chip Ganassi drivers' seasons. Before we get that, I got a quick shout out to our partners over at NASCAR Talk America. NASCAR Talk America is an ever-growing NASCAR Discord server with a plethora of things to do. You can talk about any of the series here in the Talk Arena. You can go and look at NASCAR stats and news in this little section here. You got the booth for when there's actual races, which I miss NASCAR so much. Hopefully someday it'll come back. Oh wait, it's actually what, 48 days until the Daytona 500. Cannot wait until that. But when there's actual races, this is where you guys can talk about the race while it's happening. The voice channels here is when you can talk at any time. You know, you can talk about other sports as well, and motorsports. You can, you know, share all your stuff here. Here's also our voting and all of that, and just some other miscellaneous stuff. I have my own little tab here, and just kind of some miscellaneous stuff. Also, don't forget to participate in the question of the day, asked pretty much every single day, and then you can answer it here. A great Discord server that I have a lot of fun on, and y'all should come join me. I'm pretty active on there, so we can have, you know, NASCAR discussions and stuff. But that's about all I got. Thank you, NASCAR Talk America, for being such great partners. Kurt Busch had a season that, you know, it wasn't one of the most great seasons. It wasn't as good as the seasons over at SHR, but at the same time wasn't, you know, so bad. It wasn't really a lot worse than the seasons he had over at SHR, but he had a season that really proved to just about every NASCAR fan just how talented he is. That it wasn't necessarily the equipment he had over at SHR that was making him get the results he had. It was his driving abilities, and I think his crew chief said it best during their win at Kentucky. We have a wheelman now, and that was the big difference between him and Jamie McMurray. McMurray, not a knock on him, I think he's actually an underrated driver. He just had to bat. He was kind of just at the last 2 years of his career, he just wasn't really at the level. He was out of his prime to run the car, or, you know, be in that ride and perform well. He still had a decent, I guess, last 2 seasons, but it's still, like I said, Jamie McMurray I think is an underrated driver, but he just wasn't necessarily the right fit for that one team. Kurt Busch is definitely the right fit for this team, and if you just look at these stats this year, finished 13th, had an average finish of 13.1. He had 1 win at Kentucky that I mentioned earlier, and he had 6 top 5s along with 18 top 10s. This was a major improvement on last season, as, like I said, led by Jamie McMurray. This team was mediocre at best. Every once in a blue moon you'd see him in the top 10, but was not performing at a high level, and really just Kyle Larson was, you know, the only person worth talking about. You know, nobody really just considered the one for really anything throughout the entire season, and just was really irrelevant. And Kurt Busch came in, made an immediate change, and you could just immediately see the change is what I really meant to say, and got that win at Kentucky, which was like the first win the one's had in a long time. And shout out to Kurt Busch. He really changed a lot of people's minds, because at the beginning of the season a lot of people saw this as just a 1-year kind of filler option so they could put somebody else in that one car. Kurt Busch turned this opportunity into what could be not just just 2 years, maybe even more than that, for as long, maybe just as long as he wants it, as long as he just keeps on doing what he's doing. He could have quite a few years in here, as long as, you know, I know he's getting up in age, so he could just want to retire, but if he wants to keep on going, he can keep on going. I think so long as, you know, if he has seasons like this, I don't see any reason why Chip Ganassi would have to kick him out, you know, unless he's just really high on Ross Chastain, which a lot of people are. But, you know, like I said, Kurt Busch, beginning of the season, a lot of people did not see him, you know, having another year on this, but, you know, Monster extended and Chip Ganassi extended, so definitely it seems like just a almost near perfect fit with Kurt Busch, Chip Ganassi, and Monster Energy. So very nice to see Kurt. I've never really hated him, and he's actually really started to grow on me here in these last couple of years. That finish at Kentucky was awesome, and glad to see Kurt and Chip Ganassi doing well. Now, at first glance, these are actually pretty respectable stats, similar to that of his teammate Kurt Busch, and with Kyle Larson's best points finish in his career at 6th place. Like I said, these stats look good at first, but when you go back and look at his previous years, this is actually identical stats, same amount of top fives and same amount of top tens, with a slightly better average finish than he had in his rookie season in 2014. And that is somewhat alarming, considering it's not like he's flatlined since then. He has had great seasons. He had a season where he had 4 wins and, had a lot, like 22 top 10s and about 15 top 5s. I mean, he had a great season. Actually, that 15 top 5s might not be correct. Don't fact check me on that. But he has had great seasons, championship caliber seasons, but he's regressing, and that is something that from a guy like Kyle Larson you don't want to see, which I will get into in just a minute. But to quickly go over these stats, he finished 6th in the point standings, had an average finish of 15.1, had 1 win at Dover, and 8 top 5s, along with 17 top 10s. Like I said, very close to his teammate in Kurt Busch, and they are exactly the same amount of top 5s and top 10s as he had in his rookie season. Now, I want to preface this by saying that we're going to kind of dip into the Kyle Larson dirt series, that kind of stuff that's been going around. I want to preface this by saying that Kyle Larson can do whatever he wants. If he is more interested in dirt series, if he finds more enjoyment in the dirt series, then that's great. He can do whatever he wants. But I think what a lot of people are thinking but not really articulating, aren't really communicating, is that they're not mad at Larson. Some people probably are. Like, there are people out there mad at him for caring more about the dirt series than NASCAR, which is a fact. He definitely, I would say, I'm pretty much 99% sure that he cares more about dirt than NASCAR, which is okay. There's people out there mad at him for that, they're mad because they are disappointed and not seeing the talent that Kyle Larson has displayed in that 4-win season. They have not been able to see it pan out. They have not been able to see, his full potential, and they are mad at the fact that he cares more about his dirt racing career than the NASCAR Cup Series career, and they are mad at that. I mean, that's not fair, because I think Kyle Larson should be able to do what Kyle Larson wants. If he wants to use NASCAR as a cash grab, that's a quote from somebody. I think it's like NASCAR Opinions, which, anyways, if he wants to use his NASCAR funds to go put money back into racing and in dirt racing, that is his decision. It's his money. I don't think there's a lot of there's not too many better ways to invest your money if that's what makes you happy. And like I said earlier, it should not be money that makes you happy. It should be the enjoyment in racing that makes you happy. Enjoyment in what you do, not just racing. Anything you want to do, it should be just the enjoyment that should be the deciding factor. I'm sure he still enjoys NASCAR, and I'm sure he's still. I mean, obviously he wants to win a championship, but I don't think the hunger and the want and desire for that NASCAR championship trophy is there as much as it is for somebody like Martin Truex, Chase Elliott. I don't know about Chase Elliott. I'm not going to mention it. But Martin Truex, Kyle Busch, those guys are dogs who year in, year out are doing everything in their power. Every ounce of effort goes towards getting that championship. Kyle Larson is not that kind of guy. I'm sure when the playoffs come around, his focus is at least 80% on NASCAR. I'm sure he's still somewhat on dirt, but I'm sure when when NASCAR calls for it, when he's in a chance to win the championship, I'm sure he would focus on NASCAR. He would go for that, which I guess is okay. That's kind of what Jimmy Johnson did sometimes. He would have iffy regular seasons. It's like, oh wow, it's time to put on the NOS, put the push to pass on, then you would get a championship. But yeah, like I said, I'm sure when the playoffs come around, he's more focused on NASCAR. But still, I think it's just unfortunate. I'm not saying what he should do. It's not my decision what he should do, and that's why I'm for the most part just going to kind of stay neutral on here. I don't think I do think that he cares more about dirt, and that's really all. That's all there is to say about it. There's not nobody can really tell him not to care about dirt more than NASCAR, and if that's what he enjoys to do, that's what he should do. But there's also a lot of people talking about this 48 job, and I am pretty well convinced that he will not take the job because Rick Hendrick will probably say you can run like 2 to 3 races a year, dirt races. You can't be running dirt races 2 to 3 times a week like you typically do during the season and maybe even the off season. Rick Hendrick will put some sort of restrictions on his dirt racing career, and I don't think Kyle Larson will like that. He will go ahead and decide, hey, I just wanna race dirt. I mean, he'll probably still do NASCAR, but he'll like just go back to chip. But maybe SHR Stewart Haas Racing. That's a more Tony Stewart's more understandable and would probably be more lenient on the dirt racing career, and he would even have probably better equipment than Hendrick's equipment. So maybe SHR, if there's an opening there, would take him. But Chip Ganassi is still a great option, and I don't know. It's just unfortunate, like I said earlier, to see a talent. I mean, it's almost unheard of to see somebody as talented as Kyle Larson. I mean, pretty much consistent throughout the entire community. That he is definitely has one of the most, if not the most, highest potential of all the young drivers. And a lot of people saw him. I mean, winning championships just 2 years ago. It's really flipped the script as he has now made a complete 360 back to his rookie year. Had identical stats and stuff like that, and if not for a pretty sophomore slump of a sophomore season, it'd be his worst stats of the year, it's just unfortunate, and I keep on repeating that, so I'm just gonna end it here. But it is disappointing, and it's very disappointing for not just me, but probably a lot of Kyle Larson fans that know they're never going to see really the full potential of their driver pan out, and it is a pretty sad thing to think about. I got for today. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Comment down below your guys' thoughts. I don't know. It's kind of an iffy kind of topic today. I know not everybody will probably agree with me, so let me know why you don't agree with me or why you do agree with me. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.